Okay, a little bit more about the Pythagorean theorem. First thing is there's these cool things called Pythagorean triples. Okay, and what a Pythagorean triple is, and this is something you want to put down in your notes, is whole numbers that satisfy the Pythagorean theorem. So the most famous example is 3, 4, 5. So 3, 4, 5 are the sides of a right triangle because 3 squared plus 4 squared does in fact equal 5 squared, right? 9 plus 16 is 25, which, right, works. Okay, so the thing about Pythagorean triples is they have families. And again, so since 3, 4, 5 is a Pythagorean triple, sorry about that, comma, so are, if you multiply everything by 2, right, 6, 8, 10, or say 9, 12, 15, right? Anything that can be sort of simplified down to 3, 4, 5 as a Pythagorean triple. There's some other ones too that I would like you to do some research on, and you can either look online or you can try and figure it out yourself, but there's some other Pythagorean triple families, okay? We're going to use this fact to do one more thing about the Pythagorean. So if I have a right triangle, and say 4, this is 4, 3, 5, I know that is a right triangle because it satisfies the Pythagorean theorem, okay? Now, what happens, though, if this stayed 4 and 3, but then this side got way longer than 5? Okay, let's say 7. So now, so here, 3 squared plus 4 squared does in fact equal 5 squared, right? That means we have a right triangle. What happens on this one if 3 squared plus 4 squared is less than 7 squared, right? We know that this is 25, which is definitely less than 49, right? So what kind of triangle is this? Well, this is an obtuse triangle, right? I could draw a triangle that maybe look like this. This is 4, this is 3, right? If this is, say, even 4.5, we'll just make it like that, right? So now 3 squared plus 4 squared is going to be greater than 4.5 squared, right? Even if we don't know what 4.5 squared is. Because this part is 25, right? And 4.5 squared, I'll do it for you, is 20.25. So what kind of triangle is this? This is an acute triangle. So if we have a squared plus b squared, right, it could equal c squared, it could be greater than, or it could be less than. And for this, because we don't have a hypotenuse necessarily, we're going to say that c squared, let's make that the longest side. The longest side, right? Okay. So these are our three options, right? Either a squared plus b squared equals. If it equals, then it's a right triangle. If a squared plus b squared is greater than c squared, that's an example above. That's an acute triangle. And if it's greater than, then it's an obtuse triangle. Okay. Do an example. Okay, so I'm going to draw a triangle and make it look right. Who knows really what it is. So now then, if I say, hey, we have 7, 10, and let's say 13. Okay, what type of triangle is this? What type of triangle? Okay, so you're going to set up the Pythagorean theorem, right? But we want to know what that symbol is. So if we do all this, this becomes 149, this is 169, right? So it's bigger. 169 is clearly bigger than 149, right? Okay, so what that means is this is an obtuse triangle, okay? We'll example, let's try, and you can go ahead and pause this one once it's set up and try it. And you can wait for me, but let's have like 8, and I don't know, let's try 9, okay? And then we'll make the longer side be, let's say 15, okay? So we're going to do 8 squared plus 9 squared. How does that relate to 15 squared? Well, 64 plus 81, 15 squared is 225. You don't even have to do the arithmetic if you don't want to. I mean, you can. This is 145, 225. This is bigger. We have another obtuse triangle. Okay. Real quickly, why don't you pause and can you give 3 sides of a triangle, okay, that show that it's an obtuse, or sorry, I apologize, an acute triangle. So can you draw and label appropriately the sides of a acute triangle, okay? And then I'll do one and we'll talk about how you can tell if you're right. Okay, so the one I'm gonna do is gonna be, let's have 6, 8, 9. Okay, so 6 squared plus 8 squared, how does that relate to 9 squared? Okay, that's what we want to figure out. So 36 plus 64, how does that relate to 81? 100 is definitely bigger than 81. So this is an acute triangle. So check your picture. Does a squared plus b squared, is that going to be bigger than c squared? Okay. These are good rules to know. Make sure they're in your notes.